green tourism. So, right, is that recording now? Yeah, cool. So thanks for joining us. There's only a few people here. We did have around 25 signed up, so we will we'll put this out through Marketing Liverpool to share with those who've not been able to make it, or maybe there's been a problem with the link, I'm not sure. So just wanted to give a tiny bit of background about some of the work we've been doing in sustainability. So my name's Jenny, I'm Head of Business Tourism at Marketing Liverpool. I am not an expert in sustainability by any stretch. So yes, it's really something I'm learning as I'm going along. We have been working really closely with David Connor, who's here from 2030 Hub, on helping to develop a sustainability task force for the visitor economy in the Liverpool City region. So that started a couple of months ago and is progressing really well. And part of that group is really starting to think about what we want our region to look like in terms of sustainability, how we need to move forward, and how we as Marketing Liverpool can support all the businesses who are members of Marketing Liverpool or who work within the visitor economy to help you become a more sustainable business. So this is the first in what will be a series of webinars that we'll run on a variety of topics relating to accreditations, as this one is. We're going to do one on circular economy, and we'd really like to hear back from you about the type of event you want us to host. So what do you want to know more about? What do you think could be useful for your business that you want to find out more on, and how can we help support you? So really important that you feedback to us exactly what you'd like to hear from, because we want to make sure that it's really relevant to you and your businesses. And really what we want to do is make sure businesses improve. So this is not necessarily about spending lots of money on different things, but it's investing in your business to make it more sustainable for the future. So there'll be environmental things that you're interested in, social causes that you might be interested in, and we're just trying to help facilitate all of that education so that you've got everything to hand to make your businesses more sustainable. So I'm delighted today that we have Scott McLean, who's the Managing Director at Green Tourism. Some of you on the call may already know Scott. He's spoken with us a few times about how green tourism works, and I thought it'd be really useful for him to give an overview of green tourism and green meetings, how you can get involved, and give an opportunity for you to ask questions about how it all works. So we have just, as Marketing Liverpool, signed up to be a member of Green Tourism, so we will be going through the process ourselves. So we'll be able to talk to you firsthand about what that's like. So we're looking forward to getting started with that. But I'm going to hand over to Scott. So keep your questions coming to Scott. I'm sure he'll be welcome to take any of your questions. Scott, it's over to you.
Thank you so much, Jenny, and everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here to speak with you. I guess what I'm keen to do is give an overview of the Green Tourism Programme, how we help businesses evidence what they're doing around sustainability, and how we help them advance their practices from whatever stage they are on the journey. So I'll just take you through a few slides to that effect. That's great. Is that sharing okay, Jenny? Super. Okay, so I've named the slides sustainability and competitiveness because we've put an awful lot of work over the last 18 months in really refining that side of things, how we can help businesses enhance what they're doing, and destinations enhance what they're doing around sustainability and provide the framework for them to do that, and also to support them to be competitive in the marketplace and be as much of a support to that as possible. So as a bit of a background, and this is something you'll be very well aware of and will have covered, and we are of course in a climate emergency. At COP27 in Egypt, the last COP, essentially that was the global leaders coming together again to develop collaborations and ways of working to stay in line with the Paris Agreement, below 2 degrees above pre-industrial levels, ideally above 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels. Now, last year, the IPCC report identified that in order to do this, deep emission cuts are required. And even at this stage, globally, we're seeing these wide-ranging implications for the climate. Now, at the same time as this, it's important to say that tourism, hospitality, meetings and events is contributing in a whole diversity of ways to society as well, be that via the local economies, the people who engage with your services, and also biodiversity and a whole range of ways in which the industry can impact on sustainability more broadly. So what does that mean for the industry? Well, Booking.com every year create their sustainable travel report. And of course, when you look at some of these statistics, it's easy to think, and sometimes I can think, well, wait a second, people would say that if you asked this, and the one thing that I've taken away is that this is now the 8th annual report, and there's a clear direction of travel from the consumer, the traveller who they're asking, which is these percentages year on year are climbing and becoming higher. So Booking.com independently commissioned this report. This is with 33,000 travellers globally. And what they found was that 65% would feel better about staying in a particular accommodation if they knew it had a sustainable certification or label. From my perspective, that doesn't mean that the hotel or the accommodation has done all of their job by achieving that certification, but that's what people are saying. Look, that's 65%. 59% want to filter their options with a more sustainable certification next to that booking. And what we've seen in last year's report as well is that after people had booked, they had says they would continue to go back and use that function. So that's a function within Booking.com that is likely to increase in prominence. And then finally, 69% are interested to learn more about why specific options are recognised as more sustainable. And I'd be really honest in saying that is that we don't profess to say that if you have the Green Tourism Award or the Green Meetings Award, it means that you have got the answer to communicate everything. There's a whole lot more to be done. And I'd like to share with you today how we support you to do that. So for anyone who doesn't know about green tourism, we are the UK and Ireland's leading tourism sustainability certification. We've been established for over 25 years. We operate in 22 countries. However, most of our members are from the UK and Ireland. We support a whole range of business types from hotels, guest houses, self-catering, visitor attractions, tour operators, tour guides, restaurants, pubs, cafes, a whole diversity of the industry. And with our 2,500 members, we understand so many different business types. At the same time, roughly 2 years ago, we were receiving feedback from the business meetings and events sector that actually we would like to see a criteria which is specific to business meetings. And so we already had roughly 700 certified venues in our membership. We had been working with convention bureaus and we had seen the rise of the Global Destination Sustainability Index. And so we developed a new Green Meetings Award. And we were very fortunate to be able to partner up with the Meetings Industry Association, which is an association we have a great respect for in terms of what they offer, the diversity of their offer for meetings businesses and how highly they are respected. And so we're absolutely delighted to have a partnership with them around the Green Meetings Award. And that partnership is about us listening to the meeting sector as well and learning and refining as we go. So I would say the central reflection that I've had over my 6 years of working with green tourism and within green meetings is that There are many businesses who are deeply committed to sustainability, who make changes and then continue to invest time and effort in those changes. One of the very big factors that I've found to be very successful in driving businesses forward, and I don't think I think it's something that I like to be explicit about now because it's so important now almost, is when businesses can get on this cycle, they can identify that they want to improve their sustainability practices and they can put a plan in place to do that. And that's not easy. And then after that, they find ways to take what they're doing around sustainability and to turn that to commercial advantage with the customer, with clients and their brand. And then when they do that, they can convince their board that actually we should continue to invest here and we should continue to build this as part of our brand. So this is something we've really been working on over the last 2 years. We want to be able to help businesses with no sustainability experience, which will be many, many businesses who don't have that experience, and we want to help them turn what they're doing to their advantage. So how do we do that? Well, the Green Tourism Award, we think, is a credible award, but it's also very accessible. If you've not currently been moving towards sustainability, we provide you with the framework. We make it user-friendly through our 15 goals. We've broken down through our experience with the industry. This is the whole diversity of areas that you may want to consider. And it's broken down under caring for people, caring for places, and caring for our planet. As you see, there's 15 goals here. And we've developed an assessment process which allows you to work at your own pace. I think this is important. What we've learned is businesses work at all different paces. And so we have an online portal which helps you prepare for your assessment. Essentially, there's an interactive dashboard that you can work through, and there's real-time scoring that's indicative as you work through it. So it's not your exact score because that will be measured by an assessor by reviewing your evidence, but by making your selections throughout, we can give you a bit of an indication of how you would get on in the award. And then after you've finished, you click on each of the goals, you work through the criteria, which you can see in front of you just now, and it'll give you a criteria point. You tick the box which is most relevant to you, which powers the indicative scoring. Then you provide us with more information and you will be asked to upload some evidence. That evidence can be as simple as a photograph or anything you can show, which gives the assessor confidence that they can give you the grades there. Then once you're finished and you've worked through that at your own pace and you've been through it maybe many times, you then submit for assessment and the assessor will verify your assessment at that point. They'll ask you if you're sure, and then you submit for assessment. Now, as you work through, you have an option about how much support you take from the system. There are some businesses I've worked with who think, I just want to get through it as quick as possible, and I don't want to use these, and that's absolutely fine. There are others who build it into a whole process with their staff team and fill in everything and complete all these support sections as well and use them. So for example, there's a little eye function that you can tick to bring up supportive information if you want more information. You can ask an assessor any questions that you have at any time, or you can arrange a call with them if you want to discuss that. And you can create an action plan. So based on the answers that you provide, template actions come up. You don't have to keep those actions. You can change them, make them bespoke to your business and add them to your action plan at any time. It's really important to say if you don't want to do that, you don't have to do it, but you can do that as you work through. And then at the end, you will get your report as well as your gold, silver or bronze award. You'll get your report and that will allow you to evidence, okay, here's where we're particularly strong, and will give you some confidence on what can we build some sales messages around. At the same time, on the far side of the report, you can see that we've highlighted anything that's particularly strong that you've done that the assessor can verify. So, for example, if you wanted to make the case publicly that you're 100% renewable energy purchased, or you've reduced food waste by a certain percentage, the assessor will review that for you, and they'll give you this so that you have that third-party evidence that you've done that and it's been verified. Now, over the last 18 months, we've thought a lot about how do we support businesses to improve, because businesses come on, they might go through their assessment. Even going through the assessment, they might not pick up a full picture of how they can work towards being more sustainable, or they may think, actually, I'm quite comfortable, but I want some of my staff to upskill and learn a bit more about areas of sustainability. So we introduced a monthly webinar, which is on a whole range of areas. You can see here some of the topics: communication, biodiversity, carbon, waste, measuring your greenhouse gas emissions, energy, water. There's a monthly webinar, and we continue to put these out, and they're very well attended. At the same time, we have also recorded all of these webinars, and you can access these from the moment you join, and you can go in and access all of these webinars to help you or your team improve. And of course, there's access to an assessor all year round. It's important to say that. An experienced assessor who has the experience of working across the industry. And then finally, this is something I'm keen to highlight, is some of the feedback that we had from businesses, and it's not surprising because you've seen from booking.com, they were saying that people want to know what you're doing that's so sustainable, and they want you to be able to communicate with them. And it's a lot of feedback we've received from businesses. So we went through really quite a painstaking process of creating something that's not an easy read, deliberately not an easy read. It is a long and detailed playbook for all of the ways which we believe you can communicate your award success or what you're doing around sustainability. And it provides you with that guidance from end to end on how to do that. Now, as soon as you achieve an award, that's what we provide businesses with. Or if you want it earlier for members, we can certainly provide that. But it's all about the how-to, the copies, the promotional copy that you can tweak, and the marketing assets for your website, social media, sales conversations, your on-site customer experience, your staff recruitment, and how you can bring all that together. So we've done all that work. It was a painstaking exercise, but it's all there for our members. And you can see that's I'm sure that it comes with a health warning to put a slide like that on screen, but it shows you the depth to which we've gone into this. And then it's important to say that, okay, what does it mean to join green tourism or green meetings? It means that you've been independently assessed by third-party qualified assessors. You're committed to continuous improvement, and we want to help you make that continuous improvement. And what we'd like to do is we'd like to provide you with a discount code on the green tourism application form, which is Marketing Liverpool. And if you use the discount code as you're joining, you don't pay the registration fee for year one, which is £75 plus VAT. And I guess the final thing to say is we think our fees are relatively affordable, between £150 and £650 plus VAT per year, depending on your business size. And we certainly look forward to working with you. And I guess in closing, what I would say is if you would like to know more about, okay, what am I doing, or how does that fit with the Green Tourism Award? There's a free 10-minute quiz on our website. Now, it's quite a fun quiz. It's not an assessment, but it allows you to go through it and work out, okay, these are the sorts of things that will be in the Green Tourism Assessment. So with that, thank you so much for your time. And Jenny, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much, Scott. I think that was a really, really good overview of everything there. Are there any questions from anyone on the call that you wanted to put to Scott? David?
Hi, Scott. Look, I think it's important just to acknowledge where Liverpool is on this journey, relatively early. Look, you've worked with other places. Have you got any suggestions or tips on what's worked from an awareness raising perspective? How do we get this message out there? Look, I was expecting more people here today, but I think that also shows the scale of the challenge, because there's always a distraction. So thanks to whoever turns up today. Look, you've dealt with other places. What's worked elsewhere?
So it's a great question, and it's something I've reflected on a lot, because ultimately it was maybe around 2 years ago, and the whole environment for the industry changed, and the whole funding arrangements changed, and so we've had the opportunity to go through different processes with different destinations. I think something which has worked is, there's probably a few reflections I'd bring out. One is a ubiquitous message, or a really clear message. And of course, some destinations have been able to manifest that in a big offer, but I don't think that always requires that big offer. I think one of the lessons is in this is, if there's a big message that you can get behind, I think that helps an awful lot. And I don't know exactly how to tailor that message, and would certainly be happy to do that. But that helped an awful lot, because what that's meant in destinations who have been able to do that is, yes, in terms of recruitment, it's not that these things happen really quickly, but a big ubiquitous message allows ongoing communication behind the message, and it allows it to filter through. And it allows conversations to happen between businesses. It allows credibility to be built up behind the ubiquitous message. And I even think that ubiquitous message could be as simple as, and I don't know about its effectiveness, but it could be as simple as, you know, the destination is entirely committed to this, and over a 3-year, 5-year period is doing this in several different ways, and we're building it into how we attract clients, or things like that. So the ubiquitous message helped. I think something else that helped was the sustained legwork and relationships with businesses, and the having conversations, circling back round on those conversations, and really working away at that. I guess the final thing I'd say is, and we can certainly go into more detail at any time, is one challenge. There's 2 challenges, I believe, around the Green Tourism Award process to be achieved. One is for businesses to sign up, and the second process is for businesses to complete their assessment and to get the award. And I think they are 2 different tactics almost required to do that. And there's some really super ways for destinations that we've done the second one, and we've learned a lot about the first one and how we do that ubiquitous message and work behind that. I don't know if that answers your question, David. It's a kind of...
No, it doesn't. I think there's a lot of similarities that I see. And look, I'm not the green tourism expert, Simone is, but she's away on holiday today. I see a lot of similarities, both in the dashboard and the process and the awareness and the outcomes for things like, you know, even the sustainable development goals and B Corp in particular. I think there's a lot of similarities around signing up and finishing, the approach around the questions and providing evidence. So I've got loads of other questions, Jenny, but I don't want to hog because I've got a big mouth, Scott, and I just talk too much. So if anyone else has got more questions, jump in. Otherwise, come back to me in a minute.
Where am I? Sorry. Yeah, and it's not really a question. I just think it's a great tool and a great presentation. So my question kind of stems off the back of David. So I think it's the big part is getting people signed up and meeting all the criteria to get certified. But what is there steps in place to kind of make sure that they're maintaining their status? Do you kind of assess them on a regular basis? How do you hold them accountable basically for rather than just getting this accreditation and then just going back to old ways? Is there a way to kind of track that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think so. There's the basics first. I'll come into a little bit more detail, but the basics are that businesses have to be assessed once every 3 years. They can be assessed once a year. What we find is, and a lesson we've learned is that some businesses are absolutely committed to once a year, and they put that time in the diary. It helps their communication message, because what the message becomes to their customers and others is, we have achieved this, here is where we are, we know we're not a finished product, we have our assessment set for this date, and this is how we'll be working through it. Having said that, and the other basic is, because we've got the kind of gold, silver and bronze, businesses can work towards that. The next thing I would say is that gets a bit more kind of complex than that is something that has helped us is the launch of the webinars. That has helped a lot because businesses were engaging. They're almost full, each of these webinars, so we're having a lot more touch points with member businesses, which has helped in a kind of soft encouragement way. The second thing is the Green Check portal maintains the business's information, and we've found this to be quite important, because I think a barrier to businesses in the past has been, oh my goodness, I need to complete all that information again, and the going through the reassessment became more of an administrative exercise than a thought-provoking, improve, strategically lay out where we've improved exercise, which is helping. The final thing to say is, because I'm having conversations with destinations just now who are thinking about this, and so I don't know fully the answer for large numbers of independent businesses to encourage them each year to absolutely do that. It's important to say I don't know that yet. However, one of the lessons from hotel groups that we've learned is that where a hotel group lays out, we've got a number of large hotel groups that we work with, and they lay out every single year, this is the assessment date, this is when we'll put information into the portal from head office, which will feed down into all of the sites, and this will be the announcement of the award. And one of the things that I'm considering just now is, can we bring this into destinations so that there is a feeling and a sense amongst the destination of, even if we have an award, this is our date for reassessment as a destination, and everyone can work behind that ubiquitous message. And it's far enough in advance that it allows the team locally to be engaging and having the individual conversations with businesses. I'm not sure if that helps, or if there's any other particulars I can help out with.
No, that was great. That was very helpful. Yeah, no, exactly what I was looking for. And us as a venue, it's definitely something we're interested in. Our marketing manager is the one kind of mainly handling all the accreditations, but I know that this has been on her radar for a while, so I'm sure she's going to proceed with that. Obviously, it's a team effort, but we're definitely on the way there.
Yeah. So. Nuts. So, and thank you for your kind words. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Go on, David, if you've got any more questions.
Sorry, yeah, there is a list. Okay, next one, Scott.
Okay.
And to be fair, Jenny, for you, because I think part of where we are at the moment is look, there's all the quick wins that we're trying to get the ducks in a row, but also from a benchmarking perspective, Scott. And Jenny. So, Jenny, do you know how many green tourism businesses you have in Liverpool? And also, Scott, do you know how many we have in the city or city region? Have you got that data? Is that something that you can indicate? I know there's GDPR issues there, but it would be interesting to understand how many that maybe you see versus how many we and Jenny know.
Yeah.
And then that also potentially, if there's any other data that gives us an idea, because a bit of competition is always healthy. You know, Manchester, Bristol, Newcastle, wherever, it would be interesting from a place perspective to understand where we are.
Yeah, Scott shared with me all the ones in Merseyside, so you can do it by region. So Merseyside is on there as a region, so that's Liverpool City Region. So we've got a list of all of them and whether they're gold, silver, or bronze or pending. So there's quite a few pending, so we've got a few coming on board this year, which is great. But yeah, you can go onto the Green Tourism website, just correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, and you can search for businesses in different areas to see who's accredited. So you could go through it in that way and see.
So from that data perspective, Scott, then, you know, where is the competition as a place? Where are hotspots that you see?
So I would, in terms of numbers within Liverpool at last count, I think there are 13 members currently. There's a number of others who are going through the process, but there's 13 currently. In terms of there are some, I would say I'm seeing different trajectories across the country in terms of how destinations are positioning themselves and working. There are some destinations, for example, Public Information Edinburgh, who for a long time have had huge numbers of green tourism members, and you'll know the others, and that, you know, that's probably over 80 plus members, 80, 90 members. There are other destinations who you'll be aware of going down a sustained effort in those sorts of regions. It's difficult without going into any other destinations, David. I would be afraid to mention Liverpool because Jenny would kill me anywhere else. So I would, you know. But as you see, there's different. The rise of the Global Destination Sustainability Index has had a huge impact on flagship cities, I would say. At the same time, there are also smaller destinations who are working in different ways, and I'm probably seeing a range of different approaches and strategies being taken to move forward. And I appreciate green tourism isn't the only answer here. Destinations can work in other ways as well.
Oh, that was a good question, David. I think from our perspective, Belfast have been visibly doing lots of work in this space, and they've kind of made it a mission of theirs really to encourage as well. They would like to see 100% of tourism businesses go through the assessment process. So they've got a big ambition there, which, you know, this is something that we could explore at some point. I think I'm just really keen for businesses to take up this opportunity themselves so that they truly buy into it, both in a financial sense, but also in they have to put the resource behind it to complete those assessments and then to make the necessary changes. So it's not just a simple tick box exercise. You know, this is something that a business needs to truly invest in. So I think, like Scott said, different destinations, and we all talk to each other, so we kind of know what different places are doing, and people have different strategies depending on what they're looking to achieve. And I think we're very much at that early stage. And, you know, like David said, we did have 25 people signed up to come today, which still isn't a great number. You know, there should really have been more than that, but actually, you know, they haven't come. So it's really understanding why and what their priorities are and seeing how we can support them in that space.
And I think part of that solution is, you know, it's look, there's a lot of stuff we can just do, Jenny, and carve out that, you know, all of those quick wins whilst we build towards the benchmarking and the slightly more strategic approach. And I think you know, one of the potential opportunities here is that, well, let's give a bit of a pat on the back to those 13. Let's identify them and let's shout about them. You know, the early adopters that have obviously, you know, out of their own, whatever their motivations are, whether it's saving the plans or increasing revenue, don't really care, both are good. Giving them a pat on the back and giving them the profile, because if that helps them gain more business, then that's that nice virtuous circle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which leads, I've got one more question, which does segue.
No, please.
Sorry,
yeah.
Scott, me and you could be here all afternoon.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. No, thank you. Yeah.
Because I've just been having a quick look at on the website. I think it would be really fascinating to understand whether there's any case studies, and in particular a case study, because I really like the way you presented it around, look, it's about growing business, and you know, whether that's a marketing and comms perspective or a cost reduction perspective. But it would really good, in my idealistic rose-tinted glasses, if there was a case study about something that an organization that engaged with you, got the certification and made more money and grew the business, or an organization that engaged with you and they got the certification and made huge impact or innovative impact. And having, I think for that awareness piece, there's always this duality of, look, some people are just going to do it for the money, and that's fine as long as they do it. But then there'll be a whole other cohort, the slightly earlier adopters, that will do it because it's the right thing to do and it locks in their mission and, you know, that social contract perspective. So are there any case studies that are ready-made that we can just go, right, there you go, what they said?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure there's almost testimonials we've got of people saying that, but in terms of case studies, and as you're saying that, there's some that are coming to my mind that make me actually, we really should do that. I don't know if I've got any ready-made, but if you think that's something that's beneficial, I think that's something that we could look to bring together.
Especially in our experience, Scott. Look, whether it's Jenny as a council marketing Liverpool employee, or me as a consultant, both of us will seem to have a vested interest. Oh, well, you would say that, wouldn't you? Because it's making the city look good, or you're going to get consultancy fees. But if it's a business saying, we did X and got X plus Y back,
yeah,
it's so much more relevant, and it is that peer-to-peer credibility. Look, Jenny and people like us can give that platform and can amplify and can reinforce that. But if there are some, you know, great, nice data plus anecdotal, whatever works, that's presented in a nice way, look, that's what's gonna convince the floating voters.
Brilliant. I'll do that, David, and if I can bring something together and get that over to Jenny, if I could just have a few weeks, I'll speak to our marketing manager and find out, okay, who do we, in your mind's eye, is it more so, I suppose it's the whole visitor economy, isn't it? It's hotels, it's also visitor attractions, it's the whole visitor economy.
I think ideally, you know, one from each of those sort of subsectors, if you like, you know, whether it is hotels, hotels, food and beverage, events. At the end of the day, I think it comes more down to size. It's a business of a relatively similar size, because hotels and bars are that different in the grand scheme of things. Look, they're all finding it tough. So, you know, anything is better than the nothing that we roughly have now. Plus, you know, it would give extra value to potentially one or two of the existing green tourism businesses that maybe aren't in Liverpool. And I think that's what we need to be careful of here, is we're not comparing against each other where the bar is quite low. We've got to absolutely be looking for the best practice wherever we can find it, and trying to bring that best practice into the city region and exposing to businesses to go, this is okay. You're doing okay, but this is what really okay should look like, and we've got to raise that bar. But again, we've got to really encourage the community of businesses to drive that. We can just facilitate it by giving them the ammunition.
100%. One thing I would add, David, is it okay just to add one more thing, Jenny? As I've had a lot of time to reflect on where different destinations are and lots of different conversations. And I think where I've got to, and I'm seeing this on some destinations just now, where the wave is almost breaking a little bit after lots of innovation and trying this and trying that and seeing things going forward, is if I was to look overall at a destination's impact on managing the change of businesses, I almost feel that we're, like, even across the UK and Ireland, we're at such an early stage in this process almost.
Yeah.
And the difficult, because almost when we came out the blocks at first, it was with a few different approaches, and we've learned lessons along the way on those different approaches, and really proud of lots of those approaches as well. But what I'm seeing now is, oh my goodness, like, we're so early in the process of trying to make this, of doing this. And the difficulty with that is where budgets are so tight and we don't really know all the answers along the way here. It's trying to take a really tight budget with not quite knowing the answers and make it all work. And it's really, really tough to do it. And so it leaves us back in the situation of, oh, how couldn't we do that? And probably now I'm starting to get more of the answers, which allow things to be more refined on budgets. And I say that just because that's my overall reflection of where things are just now. And I would say even now, although Liverpool, you may feel like we're further down the line, I feel like destinations are just getting started on this. They're like, we should be doing something about this.
No, I think that's part of that awareness challenge. Everybody's scared to stick their hand up or open their mouth or say anything good because they're self-aware of the lack of fantastic practice, because we're all in a similar position. And I think it's, just trying to create a safe place like this, Scott. And I think for me, it's trying to work with Jenny and think, how do we get peer groups together? I know you're saying there's 30 and we've got the badge locally and others in process, but it's almost creating those peer groups that, if we can get 10 at a time or 20 at a time, and even if it's just an informal catch up once a week, once a fortnight, once a month, and saying, where's everyone up to? Because they'll all be having the same problems because they're all relatively low on a performance trajectory. And I think hopefully in Liverpool we can find a way to, rather than pick businesses off individually, just to create those peer groups. And maybe it is hotels and or events or whatever, but I think we're just keen to try and accelerate that progress and looking at mechanisms to do that. And I think case studies and sticking groups of people together is part of that strategic approach that we need to try and identify.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I agree, David, about those peer groups. I think for us, the initial thing, really, we need to bring those 13 people together to congratulate them on what they've achieved. And also, we can then start talking. We might be able to find a case study for you, Scott, that could be useful for future, really understanding how it's impacted their business and get them to talk to our businesses as well. So I think that's something I would definitely take away from this. I did have
sorry, Jenny,
question.
Can I just put in? Because look, one of those horrible ideas just creeped into my head. And look, I need to have a conversation, because we had a fascinating conversation with our friends at the UN yesterday. And there's some big stuff happening. And apparently we're post the project, and we thought we were going to get kicked out. So that was a bit of a turnaround.
Excellent.
But could this be, because you and I have discussed, and Simone, green tourism repeatedly for how many years? Look, it's obviously going to be one of the key tools going forward. Not that we've discussed anything around Global Goals Week, and there's an alignment with the SDGs in there. So maybe we could take the time to do it properly and find out who those 13 are, find out their stories, create a bit of content, and look to launch a peer group. And look, there's no resource apart from maybe you turning up and me or Simone or Steve turning up. Let's just do something, and we can use that particular window to just launch a cohort that we want to identify 10, 20, 17 business. There you go. Global Goals Week. 17 is a lovely, not round number. Identify 17 business that we'll help fast track through, but it's mainly peer-to-peer support. And then that gives us a nice story. There's the case studies. Hopefully by then Scott can give us an idea of the bigger market case study. Something nice and tangible. It's SDGs in there.
Yeah.
Sorry,
No,
just
no,
need to get that
that's a good idea.
brain fart
Yes.
out of my head.
No, that's brilliant, brilliant. I had a practical question, sorry, Scott.
Yeah.
With the assessment process, is that kind of ongoing, or do you do it at a particular time of year, each year? Just wondering if every, I'm just thinking about if we were to kind of celebrate everyone who gets their assessment results at a certain time.
So it's at all different times throughout the year. Assessments go through at particular peak times often, which is out with the tourism season. So from September we get a lot of submissions. Just after Christmas we get a lot of submissions. Over the summer, next or very low numbers. But we can also build in, for example, and I'm just thinking out loud, but I don't see any reason why, if there was any business in Liverpool, we should certainly be copying yourselves into that announcement that's going out on social media and things like that. I think we should definitely be doing that. Maybe that's what we need to have a think about, is how can we build in, what's all the things we can do when we're announcing a member to do that? Can we provide case studies, as you say, David? What else can we do? Because it's such an asset for us when a destination decides, okay, you're one tool that we can use, let's promote that. So it's up to us to really think about how we can support that as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely brilliant. Thanks, Scott. Okay, did we have any final questions before we wrap things up? No? Well, thank you so much for joining us, Scott. Thank you for giving that great presentation. We'll make sure that gets shared. Thank you to everyone for participating and for all your great questions. That's fantastic. And we'll certainly follow up back with you, Scott, with our partners and what we can establish as our next steps as well. So thank you very much indeed. And we'll see you all soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks a lot.
Bye.